afternoon, brothers and sisters from all the English churches in Panama City, on all the ones that are listening from our platforms and our different media. We are here to present you a special program. We have family here, Stuger family. They are from Back to Eden Lifestyle, and I would like you to get to know them and to know why they are here and how they got here. So I will let you be introduced, this lovely family.
Hi everyone, many blessings, mucho gusto, nice to meet you. We are happy to meet you through this way. I would like to introduce my family to you first. We have my lovely wife, Jovelyn Stuger, and we have daughters, 4 girls, starting with the eldest one, our beginning, Genesis. We have Jemiah, we have Jedida, and we have Gianna. So 4 girls, which is interesting because I have 4 sisters as well. And yeah, this is a family ministry. We are just representing one family, but there are actually 6 families involved in this ministry, which I will introduce them as well. I don't know if you want us to do it now right away.
Yes, why not?
The different members?
Yes, different members.
Okay, so we have the Fleming family. We have another sister of mine, Melissa. Fleming family consists of Luetta and Calomo, or Alejandro Fleming. They have a little daughter. And then we have the Brookson family, that is Roslyn and H.N. Brookson. They have a daughter. And then you have us that have the most children, together with my other sister, Odessa, the Cook family, Odessa and Gerald Cook. They have 4 boys. So I have 4 girls, they have 4 boys. And then we also have another family that is joining us, which is the Williams family. They are also coming down this direction, so that's an additional family here. And then there's my dad, who will join us somewhere in the future when he's retired from pastoring. I don't know whenever you retire from pastoring, but he's a pastor in Guyana right now, and he will join us at some point of time as well. His name is Pastor Ruben Stuger, and his wife, Annie Stuger.
So now the next question that probably everybody and every listener and every viewer will ask, why you are here, Back to Eden Lifestyle, and how do you end up here in Panama?
It's a good question. Why are we here? We came here because we have a mission. We have, I'll just start with my dad. I just spoke about him a little bit. This started with him. As I just indicated, my dad is a pastor. So we are grown up into the mission. And we have grown up in the church. There was a time where my dad got sick, and he got very sick. He got leukemia. When we were face to face with a decision that we had to make. And my dad made a very important decision at that time, that he was going to take this disease that he had, which was leukemia. He was going to treat it the natural way, or following the spirit of prophecy, and also obviously using prayer as well, because God is the one that eventually heals. And that made an impact on our lives, because my dad, unto this day, is alive. It's over 15 years ago that this has happened. And that started a whole thing, because we got firsthand, and we understood that it is possible that people can recover from disease without going through all the traditional way. And it sparked an interest for us to, hey, how can we share this? And then us knowing the health message, or learning the health message at that time, because we have been in the church, but we really didn't know much about the health message. We got into it, we learned a lot about it, and this propelled us to want to do something in ministry, in where we wanted to share and use the right arm of the gospel, which is health, in order to bless many other people.
you got a good point about you being learning about the health message and you being advanced with this. So many people think that you have to be an expert,
Mhm.
and this is just a growing thing that you learn as you go. You know, to change in lifestyle, so
Yeah.
you can know what God has, you know, in mind for you. There is a reason why we need to change our lifestyle.
Mhm.
You know, God wants not just our thoughts and our mind or the obedience, but to be obedience in everything,
Definitely.
included into a lifestyle. It's not
Definitely.
separate from the spiritual life.
Definitely, and that is basically, if you look at our name is back to Eden lifestyle, and if you analyze the scripture, God had an ideal when He created Adam and Eve in the garden. That was His ideal. Before sin, that was His ideal, and really, what this ministry is about is getting back in God's purpose, in God's ideal. Because when we read the last two chapters of Revelation, they deal with God recreating the earth in the perfect way that it was before. So that is what this ministry is about: aligning with God on all levels, spiritual, physical, and even in your environment. God placed man in a certain environment, which was Eden, and that's gets why we're here, because we believe Panama to have Edenic views and has a lot of green, has a lot of garden, has a lot of beautiful springs, and that is what attracted us into to come to this
Tell
beautiful
us a little
country.
bit of the journey, because I mean, isn't easy to make a decision to leave your country home, to leave everything that you know, your job, your friends, your surrounding, your lifestyle, and to venture into a totally different terrain, a lifestyle. And how do you guys manage to make that decision to say, okay, Lord, this is what you want us to do, and we going to step in like Moses
It's
and
faith.
see the sea depart from selling, moving, giving up. How do you involve not just your family, but you mentioned all your sisters, you know, and their husbands and kids? It's a major sacrifice.
Definitely. And that of itself is a miracle, because usually you try to get on board with your sisters and brothers. It's not something that it's easy to do, but the fact that we were able to do it was because we all were a witness of something major. We were a witness of my dad given 6 months to live, and he actually being able to recover from that by using methods that has been entrusted to us as a people. So that got all of us on the same page that, hey, this thing works. A lot of times we talk about other people's experiences but haven't had our own experience. And when that is the case, you're just repeating a message. But now we got the opportunity to deliver a message, and we made a promise to God, hey, God, if you are going to carry us through and your methods work, then why not apply it all the way? So it was difficult, because indeed from home I did business as a major, so finances. My wife, what are you? My wife is a social worker. So she herself, we had to uproot and leave everything in Holland to make this transition. But it is trusting God, and because you have seen that He has led in the past, you have experienced it, you have tasted and seen that He is indeed good. And once you have had that experience, now you can have that experience more, and you can keep walking in faith and not by sight.
Feel like little bit like the experience of Abraham, right? That when he said, pick up your things and I will lead you where to go, where he didn't know where he was going to go. And God promised that He will, you know, will lead him all the way. So God lead you to Panama, to Chiriquí, to Boquete, and then you end up buying land in Caldera.
See? Yes.
And then you get your sisters, well, your sister were involved into the process, and then you guys end up buying 16 hectares of land for this for this promise that you make to God, because it was a promise that you going to share what you experience in your personal life, and you want other people have the same blessing in the time that we live in right now. But not everything was flower. I mean, you give up careers, home, and friends, and then you end up here. When did you get here? You got here.
Okay, so yes, we started looking for where we're going to do this ministry. First, we're looking at Guyana because we're originally from there, but then that didn't work out. God has a way of keeping doors shut that are not for you. And then eventually in 2017, we got a golden tip to look here in Panama. We came, we drove all the way from Panama City through the entire country, stopped in Veraguas, and then eventually ended up here. When we came here, we knew that this is the place. Because once you have in mind, you know the new start concept. We believe that this place had all the attributes. It had the fresh air, it had the green for nutrition. And so we felt that this was the place that God would have us. However, we didn't have the finances, which is usually the problem, to get it done. And because this area is more expensive than other places in Panama. However, if God wants you someplace, He opens the doors. And that's what He did for us.
When you got here?
We got here, so that was first in 2017 where we started, and then we bought the property as well in, I think, beginning 2018, it was official. And then we went back because we thought okay, now we have to work from where we are to be able to finance this property. But then things fast-paced because God says, no, I need you to be here and do things my way. So we always were involved in ministry, and one of the things that we said that is according to the blueprint is that we have a restaurant or you have a catering service within the community. So that is something we did in Curacao, we did it in St. Martin, and we saw that we were able to attract a lot of people. A lot of people were interested because of the food to know what else we had to offer. And that is something we have brought here in Panama under the name Sabor del Eden. Here in Chiriquí, we cater meals. My wife is the best cook that I know of.
Well, I know that.
And yeah, we cater meals to the community here. They know, they know about us, and that's the way we have been meeting so many people. So that of itself made us realize that the blueprint that has been given to us by the spirit of prophecy, it makes sense because Mrs. White says that our restaurants has to be in the city. We don't have a restaurant yet, we're doing catering, but by God's grace, that's where we want to get as well.
Tell us a little bit about Back to Eden lifestyle of the different phases and when you think will be this project be taking place. In the next section, we will show our viewers and the listeners, the ones they're only going to be able to hear, but the viewers, they're going to be able to see the location in Caldera or where it is going to take place, but we wanted to know the phases of this project.
Yeah, so I tell people this project is bigger than us, but it's not bigger than God. Goliath was bigger than David, but Goliath wasn't bigger than God.
Definitely. So
this project is 16 hectares of land that we're looking to develop. We have done it in phases. So we started with making a master plan first, which has located everything where it needs to be. And then we are starting basically with phase 1, which is making a road in all the way to the bridge. We were able by sacrificial donations of people to be able to finish, do that phase number 1. Then phase number 2, we'll have a bridge to build that goes over the water stream that we have there. And by God's grace, we're praying for the finances to come in, for the weather to hold up, for us to be able to complete that phase this year, 2021. And then the next step, we want to, in order to manage this project, we want to be able to, we have someone that is joining that knows how to use an excavator. So we want to get an excavator so that we can continue continue doing the rest of the project, and where we are limiting the expenditure, but that we can actually get the project moving and getting the lifestyle center set up, and that we can be there hopefully by next year. We will have things growing at the property, and we will actually be there located at the property. The idea is that we are able to grow foods, bring it to the restaurant which is in the city, cook for the people there, and then witness and bring them back to the retreat if they want to spend and learn more about nature, learn more about agriculture, learn more about the food that they tasted. They can come there and do that, and we can also share the good news of the gospel in that area with them as well.
So we don't setting a date because we are moving, or you guys are moving into God's guidance.
Amen.
You guys waiting for the timing of God for everything, every phase.
Amen. Definitely. That's what we have done from the beginning. We knew that this is the way God wanted us to go, because if we study the spirit of prophecy, there's a way that God says that the end time work will get done. One is medical missionary, but medical missionary, they work from a place, and that is the outpost centers. And then we looked around the world and we looked at Panama. Does Panama have outpost centers? And we couldn't find much, so we said, if there's not there, then this is a work that needs to get done. And then we're asking God to bless that work.
So brothers and sisters, stay tuned for the next section, because you guys going to be able to see and hear our next area where our brother and Stuger and family are placing this back to Eden lifestyle. So please stay tuned.
My Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days, I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort, my shelter,
Now we are back again with our brother Ruben, and he's going to tell us more about the program that he's going to have in the radio.
Yes, we're going to have a lovely program here on the radio station, and where we actually are focusing on doing ministry the way Christ did ministry. And when we look and read in scripture, Christ was focused on one, the need of humanity. So he looked at what basic necessity did they need. They needed food, and Christ healed more than he did preaching. We know that from scripture. So this program will be based on doing evangelism the way Christ would have us do it. And we will talk about, okay, how can we impact our community by using an outpost center, by being in the country? How can we still be effective ministers? Because there's a notion out there that when you move out to the country, what's going to happen with the people in the cities? What is going to happen with evangelism? Well, those are things that we're going to tackle on this radio program, and where we're going to show you how more effective we can be by being here, by being able to meet the needs, by meeting and fulfilling Isaiah 58, where Isaiah 58 talks about feeding the poor, and where we are taking care of the sick. So that is what we will be talking about, or that's what we would have different topics on. As to how effective we can be as a ministry out in the country.
Yeah, I got a question, especially when you mentioned about moving to the country. And a lot of people, especially, within the Seventh-day Adventist belief, they think that if you move to the country, then there's just your life. You don't do anything else. And that's totally the opposite of what the message, the spirit of prophecy talks about. This is when you are actually work more in the cities.
Amen.
And do the ministry and assist to them, because God has equipped you with a life, a healthy life. Amen. That you can share with the people that are dying in the city.
Amen. Definitely. And actually, that's a very good question, because indeed a lot of people think that you are actually being less effective, but through this program we get an opportunity to show how more effective we can be. Because think about it, right now, if you're in the city somewhere, how much time do you really have to do evangelism? And if you're doing evangelism, it's out, you're giving a book here and there. But here in the country, you can actually grow food, and you're going to have more food than you can even eat by yourself. And then you can go out and share that with the community right around you. Out here, you can hold programs for people that are programs for children that don't have any after-school activity. They can come over, they can learn about planting, they can learn about building, they can learn about how managing water systems, they can learn about hydroelectricity. So all those aspects you'll be able to address, and you can actually become a learning institute for the community right where you are. And thus, you will also be evangelizing in the same time, because people are going to ask, why are you even doing this? And there's where you have the opportunity to say to them, we are doing this because this is a plan that God has given us to get back more to his model of working, his model of evangelism, which is more directly to the people, to the person.
Okay, so in the programs that you're going to present it, you're going to give a practical examples to people, how even if they haven't moved to the city, how they can address, especially into the health message.
Definitely.
Things that they need to learn when the time that we're living right now.
Yep.
Where so much confusion of all those viruses and all those things that are attacking us, how can have a better life in a practical way, in a way that addresses this part of the world.
Amen.
Right?
Definitely. That is the focus, because in a time like this, where there's a lot happening within the world, you ask yourself the question, what can you do as a church? Are we just going to hide away? I believe we have a message that fits this time. We have a message that is able, if we understand it correctly and we go into execution mode, we can be more effective, and where we can actually aid the community even better in terms of education about health. And that's what we're going to address here as well. We're going to talk about the 8 health laws. We're going to talk about how important agriculture is, because a lot of people forget, because of what has happened in our world with the whole crisis, with the COVID-19, there's also going to be an aftermath with people not having a job. So if people don't have a job, what do they need? Basic needs. They need food. So this is about educate. How can we be as Joseph? Prepare ourselves to be aid in times of trouble, because we know a time of trouble is coming. But now we have to position ourselves and be wise to see how can we help when the time of trouble hits.
Perfect. I heard also that you have some very good cooks in your family, especially your wife, right? This program is going to offer some practical recipes, cooking classes, something that a lot of us are desperately need to how to eat healthy and delicious, because people think that eating healthy is
boring.
Boring.
Yes, yes, yes. I've heard that a lot, but indeed, this program will address exactly that. We are going to talk about, we're going to share our recipes. We're going to share how you can make a palatable meal while sticking within the counsels given to us in counsels on diet and food. So we are going to talk about food combination, which types of food to combine. There are a lot of people that are gluten intolerant. We're going to talk about how you can overcome that even, and not be your life being determined by your gluten intolerancy. We're going to show you how you can navigate through those issues. We're also going to talk about, for example, why people can't, some people can't consume beans and they can't get their proteins because they're very sensitive to those things. We're going to give practical tips. How can you still cook your beans and don't have all that gassy feeling, etc., etc. So my wife is going to share those those ways of cooking, and then we're also going to look at the health benefits of everything that we take. And my sisters, they are here and they're able to help and aid with that. And on top of that, we will have a children's section where the children will teach other children how to cook, and how you can implement using the children and teaching them at a young age, at a tender age, when they're actually interested in it, to learn how to cook, learn how to make food combinations. So all of that will be coming here on this radio station.
Wow, that's amazing. You know what? God works in mysterious ways, because the church in Panama needed so much a group of people that will have those visions. They will not be afraid to enter into the waters and the risk that you might drown. But if you don't step in, you will never know if you're going to cross.
Amen.
And those give us a lot of hope that God is working in everywhere.
Amen.
You know, the Panama is going to have blessings of you guys being here.
Amen.
I know this is just the beginning, but this radio program is going to help us to get to know more about our mission.
Amen.
In our last time.
Definitely. And there's a text that came to my mind. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy path. So that is what we will be doing through this radio program, allowing God to direct our path. Let us learn from His blueprint how to reach others. Let us analyze how Jesus was able to be the most effective minister. And we're just copying that blueprint and sharing it with Panama and with everyone across the world. There's also something very, very interesting that we also will be touching, which is very important for families with children. Because a lot of times when we're thinking of ministry, we think you have to be single in order to do a ministry, and you can be more effective that way. Well, actually in this radio program and this family is to show that we're more effective in doing ministry if we do it together as a family unit. You can be more efficient. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the ABC of education, which is agriculture. So we also delve into that, because a lot of people get, oh, what are you going to do with school? So we will be addressing what we do with school, what things that you can implement into your own life, that is able to teach your children to be prepared to be real missionaries in these times. So we'll also be addressing that in this program.
Amen, brother. We're now going to pause an interlude musical, and then after that, tell us a little bit of what we're going to talk about in the next section.
Yes, let me tell you what we're going to talk about in the next section. In the next section, we'll show you guys what we have been doing here in Caldera. We are setting up what is called an outpost center or a lifestyle center, and we'll be showing you what the work that has been done thus far. We recently started because of the donations that we received from goodwill Christian folks, that we were able to start this project. And actually right now we're on a spot. This spot right here is where we have a big bridge to build. This is our gap that needs to be filled. So we'll talk about that a little bit as to how we intend that we see God coming through for us even in having that bridge built this year by God's grace.
Thank you, Brother Ruben. And now we're going to a musical interlude.
Exalted, the King is exalted on high, and I will praise Him. He is exalted forever, exalted, and I will praise His name. He is the Lord, forever His truth shall reign. Rejoice in His holy name. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high, and I will praise Him. He is exalted forever, exalted, and I will praise His name. He is the Lord, forever His truth shall reign. Rejoice in His holy name. He is
we are back again with our brother Ruben, and he's gonna tell us more about this amazing thing that is happening behind us. And let me tell you, this is excited. Tell us, brother.
Yes, so what is happening behind us is basically what we came here to do. We came to do God's work. And God's work in this time is a special work. Reminded me of the story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah, in his time, he had a mission. The mission was to rebuild a temple. Well, I believe God has a mission for his church in these times. Panama has done an amazing job with churches all over the place, especially here in Chiriqui. There are churches all over the place. But there's one thing that the Spirit of Prophecy says that we need to have in these times, and it's not more churches, but more outpost centers. Because it says in the end time, we have to work the cities, or we have to work and evangelize from outpost centers. So what we are doing here is starting that process, in starting an outpost center right here in Panama, in Chiriqui, in the beautiful Chiriqui that is lush with green trees, that we can actually do mission in the way Christ would have us do it in this time.
But let us explain a little bit to our listeners and our viewers what is an outpost center and how you came to Panama to find this beautiful land in Caldera to place that outpost center.
It's a very good question, Marcia, because I do indeed see that not everyone is acquainted with the term outpost center. To make it simple, it's a health retreat, or as we call it as well, a lifestyle center. It's a place where we would have a center of education, in where people can learn what it is to live according to the country lifestyle principles. So it means that you can come over here, that the vision is that people can come over here and they can learn what it means to cook. They can learn what it means to do agriculture. They can learn what it means to build. They can learn how to work with hydro electricity system. They can come here and teach their children all kind of different things that has to do with agriculture, because we understand that through education, agriculture is the A, B, and C. So this is a place that is designated to do exactly that work. And if we go through the Spirit of Prophecy, it says that it is from these spots or these places that we are able to now call people to distress. Because people are going through so much in the cities. They're going through so much in the places where they are. They are going through so many diseases. And now they would have a place that they are able to retreat to, and that they can be taken care of. And that they can just come for a weekend or a week and be able to be rejuvenated health-wise, but also spiritual-wise, and where they can learn about Jesus through nature as well.
Okay, so I have another question about why Caldera, why Panama, and how do you get to Caldera, and when do you get here?
Yes, this plan started a while back. It started actually more than 10 years back. We started and we looked in our own country of Guyana. I originally was born in Guyana but lived in Holland for so many years. We looked there first. But when God doesn't want you to be somewhere, the doors are shut. And someone told us about Panama, how it is amazing, how it is green, how it has all the sceneries. So we came out here and we fell in love with Panama. And God opened up this door. This property it looked for a lot of people didn't look promising because there was a water stream in the middle, and the lady thought we didn't want it because there was water in the middle. But we came and we said, no, we want this property because there is water, and where there's water, there's life. So we came, we saw, and just to be very plain, we didn't have the funds at that time. God had to open the doors literally for us. Amazing. And we made a down payment. We didn't know where the rest was going to come from. We went back to our countries. We worked a little longer. And then we were able just in time to make the rest of the payment. That is how it started with us. And that was back in 2017. We had a plan made, a master plan made. The architect is right there behind it, where he designed everything, where everything needs to go. And you know how with the COVID-19, how everything fast-tracked, and that's how we ended up here quicker, but the plan was already there because God always prepares his people from beforehand. So that's why we were able to finally get a start here at this project.
Yeah, we miss it. I missed it a couple of weeks ago. I was invited for the
Groundbreaking.
groundbreaking,
Yeah.
but I understand that was even a miracle in themselves for you. I remember when you were showing me the property and we walked into it, and it was just a jungle behind. And this is completely different from 2 months ago, and God opened the doors to get this started.
Amen.
You know, I met the family, and guys, you guys to know, brothers and sisters, that this is God's miracle.
Amen.
This is not a work of Reuben and his family. This is God's work.
Amen.
For what is going to be offering. And for I understand, this is going to be accessible for everybody.
Exactly, and that is so important for us to understand. A lot of times when we have these types of center, it becomes inaccessible for people that may not have all the finances. The way we want to do it and the way we want to do this project is to make it accessible to everyone that is in need and really wants to change. So that's why we want to do it in a self-sustaining way. We want to be able to use hydro electricity. That's why we don't want to take any types of finances, but we work based on donations. Why? Is because we don't have that pressure then that we need to go and generate funds. We want to be able to tend to people, and because we care for them, because we love them, and not feel the pressure that you need to do this and you need to generate this in order for you to make ends meet, which you have with a lot of institutions that are funded with loans and all types of stuff. So this is what God inspired our mind, and this is nothing new. We haven't made this up. This is open for every one of our brothers and sisters in the Adventist Church. It is one of the greatest secrets, which is what is not really a secret, but one of the greatest messages given to us as a people in order to really impact lives in a more pragmatic, practical way.
So to make it this more explain in more simple way, this center is going to be an education center and a health center for people that are either sick or alignments, or a person that wants to learn for other person will come here and will have those kind of service to offer here, where will be people available and equipped to know and to help. Right?
Yeah, initially how we are setting it up, initially is going to be what we call a lifestyle center or a health retreat, meaning that people there are a lot of people that know about healthy lifestyle, but they don't know how to practically do it. They don't know what to cook. They don't know how to cook it. And we want to be able to bring them over here and show them from the garden, bring it to the kitchen, demonstrate it. If they have some type of simple ailment that they can learn natural remedies, they can come here and they can learn those different skills, things that they can do around the kitchen. But then at the same time, we also want people that want to learn a craft. This would be a place in where we would have educators, because there are buildings to be erected. So we will also use that opportunity for people that want to do that and learn that with somebody that is trained to do it, to learn a skill as well. So it's going to be a combination of items that is going to be able to bless the old and the young. And you can see a ministry like this needs all facets. We need the young, and we need the old, and we need the in between.
Well, brother, and so for this kind of project, obviously funds has to be available.
Yes.
So can you tell us if we have some brothers and sisters in there that feel impressed by the Holy Spirit to donate and to help, how they can contact you? Or do you have a website or any way of type of connection with you?
Definitely. If you would like to help this project out, because again, this where we are thus far has only been able because there is a oneness, is a coming together, and together we can do much more. You're able to do so through donations by going to our website, backtoedenlifestyle.org, and there's a donation link, and you can leave a donation there. We also have a GoFundMe link that is on the website. You can also like us on Facebook, Back to Eden Lifestyle. You can look it up on Facebook as well. We have a Twitter, another Twitter. We have an Instagram that is called Back to Eden Lifestyle. You can keep informed as to how far the project is going along, because we intend to take you each step of the way. You're going to see this thing develop from the root into something that God is able to use as a blessing, not only for Caldera, not only for the Buquete area, but for Panama in general.
Well, brother, can you give us some final thoughts and a message through this?
Yes, I would like to encourage our people living in this time that we can and we should be effective in this time. I believe our church was called for such a time as this. I believe that we have the blueprint, just as how Joseph understood what was going to come beforehand, and what was expected of Joseph is to make plans before it was too late. And this is why this center is being set up. There are people that are have diseases and sicknesses and all types of ailments. There are people that don't have sufficient to eat. So planting a seed, growing fruits and vegetables is something that we as a people, we can do together to impact the community, because if you look around, things aren't getting better. And this is a way that we can continue to be practical in our ministry to the community at large, and through that way we are able to share the good message of Jesus Christ and his soon return.
Amen.
So that is my encouragement for you. You be the Nehemiah in your time. You take hold of this work and don't be distracted. As Nehemiah said, I have no time for distraction.
No.
I am about my Lord's business.
Amen, brother. Well, this is concluded our interview with the brother Ruben, and we would like you to keep in tune, because we're going to keep you updated of the coming progress in this Back to Eden. So see you later until next time. Bye.